Hi Lions, welcome back. Lesson 89 today. We're going to be talking about analyzing and studying, or same word really, prisms. What in the world is a prism, you ask? Well, I am just here to enlighten you. A prism is a 3D solid with two congruent bases. There's that word again, congruent. Similar or same. Those words do not go away. We have to remember to memorize those things. Otherwise, we're going to be so lost. The rest of this year, next year, really throughout your whole academic career. Congruent comes up all the time in math. So, remember, at any time, you can pause the video if I'm going too fast so you can take the time to catch up with the notes. Or if you just need to rewind to catch something maybe you missed. Or you just weren't paying attention and you got to start over. I get it, totally understand. So, bases, I drew a little arrow down here for us to know that bases are parallel. Remember, parallel has to do with things going the same direction and are about the same size or length. So it could be lines that are going like this, it can be lines going side to side, diagonal. It doesn't even have to just be lines, it could be different shapes. But in this case, we're going to be talking about the lines and the direction that they are going on the shape. Also, the bases are the front and the back of the figure. Usually when you think of a base, let's see, like this little doohickey here, my sister's sewing stuff, we might think of a base as being the bottom part of it. Not necessarily. Usually it's the front and the back of the figure. Maybe if we turned it, it could be top and bottom. Could be. It just depends on the way that the shape is facing. So, remember, we are just following along in the book. If you want to take notes, you can. You don't have to, but sometimes it's easier than just following along with the book. In the book, however, we have all of these really nice things that we can look at when it comes to looking at different prisms that we will be working with. These are generally the only ones that we'll work with in this book, but it's good to know that there are other prisms depending on how many sides of the shape that there are. So, triangle, 3 sides, we know that. So we have the triangular prism. We have 6 vertices. Vertices is a fancy name for corners. I'm going to just write that down so we don't forget. A vertice, fancy name for a corner. If you didn't catch it earlier, right below vertices, it said edges. That's the lines of the shape. Lines of the shape and corners. So, we're focusing on this triangular prism. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners or vertices. And we have 9 edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? Looking at the rectangular prism, we know that a rectangle or a square, depending on how you're looking at it, this I would say is a square, this is a rectangle. It has 4 sides regardless of how you're looking at it, right? 4, 8 vertices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 corners or vertices. 12 edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. When you're getting into these other edges and prisms and all that fancy stuff, you can see that it starts growing in terms of the amount of corners and the amount of edges. If you're not careful, this was a problem that the 6th graders had last year, you'll start missing the different sides when you're counting, or the different lines, the different corners, however you want to say it, and you might write the wrong one down. My recommendation to you is to do what I was doing by using your pencil. If you draw in your book, that's fine. Please erase it. That way, the person who gets the book next year isn't having to deal with all of the different lines that are scribbled all over the page. So if you're following along, so you do that 1, 2, 3, 4, you're like, oh my gosh, Miss Em, I can count. I know, it sounds like it's super tedious. It takes a long time. It really doesn't. It's like an extra 10 or 15 seconds, so that's going to help you make sure that you're seeing it and that you're actually taking in all of the different information that's on the page. I'm not going to go through each one of the different sides by touching. You can do that in your book if you need to. So we have all of these different prisms going the pentagonal, hexagonal, octagonal. Again, we probably won't be dealing with anything other than these 6 prisms because we don't normally deal with that in real life. But you can always figure out what kind of prism it is based on the amount of sides that there are. If you don't remember what the name of the prism is based on the sides, you're like, what is 7 sides? You can do one of 2 things. You can look back in your chapter, really back in the book, chapters and chapters ago. To be honest, I don't know what chapter it is, but it was when we were talking about shapes. Or you can Google it. What is a 7-sided prism called? And it should pop right up with a picture. But don't do Google all the time to rely on those answers. See if you can figure it out first by using your resources that you have right there. Then you can go and use Google. Very helpful. So, example 1. Which prisms, A through F, have all parallel rectangular faces? Which prisms, A through F, have all parallel rectangular faces? Pause the video on the shape so you can see them. See if you can figure out the answer, and then you can come back. So for that example 1, hopefully you said B. And here's the reason why. In figure B, if we consider, just think, the front and back of the rectangular prism as bases, then we see 2 other pairs of parallel rectangular faces. That is just another way of saying it. The top and the bottom faces are parallel, same direction, same size, and the left and right faces are also parallel. You're like, oh my gosh, why I picked C, for example. I'm not really sure. You have to see this one right here, this top line, does not match this bottom one. The front and the back match, the side and the side match, but that top and bottom don't. You were looking here, maybe, I probably would have said E. I maybe would have even said F. But for this one in particular, we're gonna just roll with B. With these prisms, really all that you're going to need for your lessons to really just soak in what we've talked about, there's really not a lot of information that you need to know for these other than understanding what a prism is, which is the 3D solid, and then understanding what the vertices and edges mean. So if you are looking in your book and you flip to the page, lesson 89, you're looking at problem 9, you will see that there is a shape that is written on the page. I'm not going to show you mine because then you can see the answer, but you'll see a shape, and the question asks you 2 different things. Name the shape that is shown, and then how many edges does it have. That's it. It's not really necessarily going to ask you in the next couple of lessons about how many congruent faces there are or how many parallel faces there are, but when we do get to those pieces, I will go over them as a review. If you want to get started on your lesson, you can, but I am going to go over just a couple of those different things that I just mentioned, the congruent rectangular faces. So if you want to stick around for that, cool. If you don't, well, did I say that? If you want to stick around, cool. But if you don't, see ya. I'm not really sure, guys. I'm really tired. But anyways, that's the life of a teacher, and here we are. So, prisms A through F, again, we're just referring to these ones that we were talking about earlier, have congruent rectangular faces. Make sure that you are attempting just based on what you know congruent means and what you know rectangular faces means. See if you can figure it out. Pause your video, write down which ones you think are congruent, and then you can check back. So, prism A, this triangular prism, has two congruent rectangular faces. Boom, boom, the sides right there. Since two sides of the triangular base are the same length. Bloop, bloop. Okay. Prism B has four congruent rectangular faces since its bases are squares. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Prism C has two congruent rectangular faces since its bases are trapezoids with two same length sides. Might be a little bit tricky to understand at first. To be honest, it's something that is really can be confusing to me too. But again, I won't let you fail. So if you're still not understanding and it comes to a point in the lesson and you're really not getting it, you can always look at the videos that I mentioned earlier, like Khan Academy. But if you write on your lesson, Miss M, still not understanding this, I will not mark you down. So let's say we get to lesson 97, there's a problem in there, you're like, oh, I didn't get this, I did try it. Just write, hey, Miss M, didn't get this problem. And then I will make sure that I can make another video. I can send you resources directly. I can do something to help you succeed. So that is lesson 89. I hope that that made sense. I hope that you succeed on your lesson. I know that you're all trying really hard, and that is always what I ask of you to do. Have a wonderful day, friends. Love you.